Good morning. Welcome to Viewpoint, your program with personalities, politicians, and perspectives, and a complete rundown on the Mueller report. Stand by for further news. Good morning. Mrs. Busby, how are you this morning?
Well, just fine, and we're on early. This is Viewpoint...
Bifurcated.
Bifurcated.
I just wanted to use that word.
That's a very good word.
Don't ask me to spell it.
Well, I think we could take a stab at it, but we don't have time because we have a wonderful guest this morning, and we only have 15 minutes for our bifurcated program. Kim Peterson Quinn is with us. She, of course, comes to us from Lincoln Community High School. Last night, she had her choir. What did I say that wrong?
No, I just said amen that she's here.
Oh, yeah. And she had her choir concert last night, and it was a raging success. And now, not this weekend, but next, they're doing Fiddler on the Roof. So I'm sure you haven't been bored this spring, have you?
A little busy.
Yeah, I guess. Well, tell us who your stars are and what your schedule is for Fiddler.
All right.
Tell us the storyline on Fiddler on the Roof.
Okay.
You want to get through a
Sure,
while?
absolutely. Okay, so Fiddler on the Roof, and you know, it's a classic.
Yes, it is.
But it's the story of Tevye and his family. He has 5 daughters. He mentions that several times. I've got 5 daughters, which, of course, I'm sure is a handful. I
had 3, and I thought I was busy.
Right, indeed. So you can appreciate. But he is kind of an advanced thinker. He wants his daughters to be educated. It takes place probably around the turn of the century, and somewhere in Russia, and but he's very tied to traditions. He holds them very near and dear, and of course, each daughter pushes the envelope in terms of the traditions that they keep in their family, as you go down the line with each girl and their and how they're pursuing their lives and the men that they are choosing to marry. He has to bend a little more with each daughter. When he finally gets to that 3rd daughter, she is asking too much. He can't quite bend that far, So, I mean, the story is certainly about the hardships that they face, but really it's about family and
the old Jewish traditions.
Yes, Jewish traditions, but I think even more core is how far do you bend to in order to stay close to your children?
Well, I'm sure that's been a challenge to every generation.
Right.
But in Tevye's generation, it was really something, I'm sure.
Yeah, right. And he loves his daughters. I mean, he loves them. So, I mean...
One of the great all-time Broadway hits.
It is. And the music is just spectacular.
Yes.
It's just beautiful. Yes. It's funny and it's poignant. It's everything. It's the full package. So our players, we've got Jack Rao starring as Tevye. McKenna...
voice there.
Right. McKenna Frank is playing Golda. We have Aaliyah Turley playing Seidel. We have Jordan Palmer playing Motel. We have Austin Garriott playing Perchik. We have Madeline Steiner playing Huddle. We have Casey Bennett playing Hava. And we have Abby Bishop, who's playing Frumasera. And, in this show... It's kind of, your traditional musical, but there's one scene in particular that is just out of nowhere crazy. And Tevye is trying to convince Golda that that they need to allow their daughter Seidel to marry Motel, even though they've given permission for Laserwolf to marry Seidel, their daughter. And so he decides he's going to tell her a dream that her grandma Seidel visited him in a dream, and then also Laserwolf's deceased wife also visits him in this dream to tell him that you cannot allow your daughter Seidel to marry Motel or to marry Laserwolf. And the dream is just crazy, you know. So it's actually like my favorite scene in the musical.
I think that comes through all right.
Yeah.
Taking Fiddler and using as your vehicle, and putting high school youngsters on there. The music is I think, from my standpoint, a little bit sophisticated. I don't know a doggone thing about musical. I know what it feels to me.
Right.
But that's an ambitious undertaking, Judith Kay, in my judgment, to try to put on a production, the scope of Fiddler on the Roof, with a high school.
True.
Yes.
That's
right.
That's a step beyond.
Right. Well, the
Well,
part
good for you.
I would say. Well, thank you. I would say that the part of Tevye requires a certain amount of gravitas. You know what I mean? Like, and a high school student wouldn't traditionally have that.
Traditional.
Yeah, right. But Jack is kind of an exceptional high schooler.
Yes,
And ever since we announced the musical, he has been just like thinking about this role and coming into my office and asking me, you know, pretty in-depth questions about how Tevye would feel about this, or, you know, what would his journey be, and how would he look at, like, you know, of course, one of the signature pieces is If I Were a Rich Man. And, you know, and he, you know, he's really done such a beautiful job of thinking through the role and analyzing it, and, you know, God bless. I've been so impressed. But really, the entire cast is just fantastic.
Well, this kid's really into
Dan
it.
McLaughlin in that role in the Lincoln Community Theater production.
Yeah, Dan McLaughlin.
I thought Dan did a great job in that
Oh,
role.
yeah.
A demanding role, too.
Absolutely.
And I thought he did fine. Tell it now. We're coming up soon to production dates.
Indeed.
That's one of the reasons we kind of shoehorned Mrs. Quinn in, because we want the public to know about this opportunity to see Broadway theater at the high school level, and done exceptionally well. So let's start with the opening dates, Kim.
Okay, sure. So we open May 9th, Thursday. Our performances are at 7 on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Pretty sure 7, maybe 7:30, but I think it's 7. Thank you. So this is Mother's Day weekend, so a great opportunity to take your mom, your grandma, whatever, out to see a show, and maybe a dinner or lunch or something. And then on Sunday, the 12th at 2. So the 9th, 10th, and 11th at 7, and Sunday at 2.
Well, it's a good opportunity, kind of across the counter, so to speak, or the clock face, if you want to use that term, or give people an opportunity to adjust their schedules to allow them to enjoy this production.
Yeah, you have 4 opportunities to see it.
And as usual, on a production like this, it's the pit band, the pit orchestra, that kind of helps set it up. And again, you have the advantage of having some nice musicians
Absolutely.
to back this thing up.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. You know, we couldn't be more grateful for our pit orchestra, our band director Nigel Range. He heads that group of students. But I mean, you know, you've got your crew students that are working on set and sound and lighting, and you have the students that are playing in the pits, and of course the students on the stage. So, I mean, all in, I'd say we probably have about 70 students that are involved in that production. So, it's a big deal.
Will there be any reserved seating?
We don't do that.
I know you haven't in the
I know. I mean, I think that would require us to be a little tech savvy, which, you know, maybe the next person that takes this position will be that, but it is not me.
Yeah.
And honestly, you know, there's really not a bad seat in the house. So,
I'd say the same thing at the Episcopal Church. There's not a bad
true story.
Mrs. Quinn leads our small but mighty choir at the Trinity Church, and each time when they get done with their rendition, Gene sits back in that pew and claps. Not loudly, just
Well,
just a little tap. So.
I don't think that's particularly inappropriate to appreciate talent.
Celebrating God's music, after all.
And the tickets are available where and when?
At the door. They're really
Okay.
just available at the door.
Okay, so just you come just before 7 and get your ticket and
Right.
get your seat. What time do the doors open?
6:30.
6:30. Okay.
So-
And you'd be wise to get there early because I suspect it's going to be sold out.
We have nice audiences. We do.
Yeah.
I won't say sold out. I wish, but
Yeah.
but we do always have nice audience. So
Would it-
a lot
would
of
it be-
support.
One of the things they did when they built that, they planned and built that building out there on Prim Road at our high school facility. They did plan a nice auditorium for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And as you say, there's never even had a bad seat in the house.
No.
And we should be so lucky to fill the house.
Yeah, really. I'd sure love that. I'd sure love to see that.
Well, you got a crack at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know it'll be just great. And
It's gonna
I,
be a
for
great
one,
show.
am looking forward to it. I'll have to get myself out there and
Yeah, we
Get my-
make sure we get you out there.
my ticket.
Mrs.
Please
Quinn and her husband Tom have added greatly to the enjoyment we have in our musical world here at Logan County when they came. Tom is a professor at Illinois State,
Illinois Wesleyan.
or Wesleyan, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
uh-huh.
And Kim, you've been with us how long?
Well, this is my 25th year at the high school.
Oh, that's hard to
Really?
believe.
Yeah.
You
We
look
weren't
about
supposed to-
25. You
Oh,
must
God
have
bless.
started young.
I didn't think we were supposed to
I
hire
was
them
3
under
when I
20. Yeah. No kidding. Well, it was a fortuitous thing when we brought the Quinns here. We had Mr. Tom Quinn and Sullivan and Fiona.
Yeah.
And then we have the mistress of the domain, who adds greatly to our musical enjoyment. We're lucky. We brought a really talented group in there.
Well, I feel pretty lucky too. It's been great. Continues to be great.
Tell Tom it'd be okay just to meet him at the Spirited Republic if he wanted to say thank you for that.
Okay, I'll pass that.
We're available. Our schedule's
Indeed,
quite
right.
open.
And easy. How far ahead do you try to plan a musical production? Because you just don't say, I think we'll do Fiddler next week.
Yeah. Well, and the kids are always pushing. What are we doing next year? Before this show is even done, before
That's
we've
good.
even finished.
They're looking
What are
forward
we
to
doing?
that.
What are we doing? Yeah. I mean, you start thinking about next year, the year before, But I think I have to solidify no later than probably December, before we start.
Yeah.
We start in March, so it takes a little bit of time to just get the rights for the show and
Get it
stuff
started,
like that. But and sometimes I just kind of have to wait and see exactly who I'm looking at, in terms of our pool of students. I kind of need that fall to just sort of make my final decision.
Do the licensing agencies such as Thames Whitmark and others like that out there, do they give high schools a little break on their fees?
Sure. Yes.
That's good.
Right.
That's
I mean,
good. Those fees
the
can be
amount
pretty
of to rent the material and to buy the royalties depends on your audience, how many people come, the size of your venue, how many performances you're going to do, and then, and what your venue is, if you're a high school, if you're, non-professional, or if you're professional theater or whatever. It all plays a part in how much they
And they charge
how much
more for things like Fiddler than they do like Bus Stop or something like that,
Probably. I mean, it's
The
not
royalties-
cheap. It's expensive.
It's not, no,
Yeah,
it's very,
right. I'm
very
sure.
expensive.
Yeah.
But you can't plan too far ahead because your population in the high school can change.
Sure. Right.
So if you plan a year or two ahead, too bad for you.
Right. Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah, and sometimes at the last minute things change too.
Sure,
and
sure.
You're like kind of scrambling a little bit, but hopefully that doesn't happen very often. By December you kind of need to know what you're doing.
Yeah. Get your ducks in a row.
Indeed.
Well,
I'm in.
It occurs to me, Mrs. Busby, and listeners, both of you out there, pay attention. We have a musical department that does know what they're doing out there.
Yes.
Year in, year out, they manage to put on a pretty doggone decent show for all of us.
Thank you.
And that's one of the reasons we wanted to cooperate and try to find some time for Mrs. Quinn. We had kind of a little difficulty with our scheduling here.
Yeah, well, thank you.
A
I'm
couple of
grateful.
people I know that ought to be sharper kind of got crossways on their schedule. Judy didn't know what Bill was doing, and Bill forgot to tell Judy what he was doing. So sometimes that creates a little problem, and sometimes a major problem. But there's no problem of enjoyment if you folks will find time now. Let's repeat again the production days so that we make sure, because it's just around the corner, like tomorrow.
We actually, we open a week from tomorrow, which is a little terrifying, but yes.
Yeah.
May 9th and 10th, 11th at 7, and May 12th at 2.
Well, we will be looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Bless
Thank you
your
so
heart
much for having me
and
on
break
today.
a leg. Isn't that what they say?
That is what they say.
Don't ever tell that to an actress like Kim Quinn. She'd do it.
Go the full 9 yards.
Community High School musical personality, and also the major dome over our musical department at Trinity Episcopal Church. Want to hear great music? Come on in. We don't charge very much. Matter of fact, it's free will. As I stand over
Shamefully
with the club.
plugging.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Kim.
Thank
We
you so
appreciate
much,
you being with
guys.
us this
Thank you
morning.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
dear. All right. Welcome back in the studios here. The program is a Viewpoint, of course. Normally we start at 8:15, but in order to, we wanted really to help Kim Peterson Quinn, Lincoln High School's musical instructor, one of the musical instructors out there. Their high school musical, they're putting on a great show next week, Fiddler on the Roof, and we wanted to start giving people time to know about that so they can plan it to go starting May the 8th. And it's going to run for 3-4 days there. So we started a little early, and now we're at the point where we normally begin. And at this point in time, we normally talk about kudos, Mrs. Busby.
Yes.
I think the simplest thing to do would be a nice kudo, and I mean a very sincere kudo, from all of Lincoln to the Habitat for Humanity folks. We just ordered a new house last Sunday, and I'm going to let you make a comment or two about that, and then introduce our guest, my dear.
Yeah. We're
Blindsided
lucky
you,
to
didn't
have
I?
them with us. We're lucky they are with us, actually.
They swim
This
in.
was house number 24 for Logan County's affiliate. And I think that's really something. The house blessing was last Sunday, and it was a very nice affair and darn well attended, I dare say. And we have with us today to talk about that and the whole myriad of subjects involved in Habitat for Humanity. And Bill Sahs is the current president, and Cynthia Lynn Busby Bowns is a past president. I
got
guess
that name,
quite the
Bud?
moniker.
That was.
I thought she slipped
Well, I
that
bet-
Busby in there nicely.
She got that Busby in there, didn't she?
Yeah, I bet a lot of people don't even know that you have a real name.
Probably
other than
not.
Cince. Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you for being with us. One thing that kind of surprised me last week at the open house was the business of the building trades group from the high school being involved. Is that new, or did I just miss
This
it?
is the second house that the Building Trades has
Good
done
plan,
for us.
Bill.
Yeah.
Really?
It started with Bob Chamberlain made the contact with the Building Trades at the high school, and they came to our meeting. That's been 2 years ago now, and we talked with them, and we decided that that's the best way to get a house built and get hands-on experience for the high school kids, and their group has grown because of that.
Is that right?
great.
Well, it's a great twofer.
Yeah.
It's
First
great
thing
for
I'd
you
like
and
to
great
do,
for
Judith
them.
Kay, I would like to define habitat. There may be some listeners out here that say, what is Habitat for Humanity? They should know about that because it performs several very important functions, not the least of which is getting a family in need into good housing. But there are other byproducts of this program. For instance, our dear friend Leonard Cruzmark always makes it a point to show up to these, gives the recipients of the house a Bible, which is neat, not a big thing, and yet it is a big thing for those folks who are receiving that Bible. And it means a lot to Leonard, one of our great leaders in our community, to get things done quietly, without a lot of fanfare. But Habitat, we need to explain exactly what Habitat does, and do we want Bill Sahs or your daughter to do that?
Yes, Bill Sahs or my daughter. I think that would be
We're the
best.
two that are here.
Well, we could ask Jim. He's a master of most trades, but I don't think he's a builder. Are you, James? Not so much.
He's an electronic man. Go ahead,
Well, I
Cynthia.
think the first thing to say is Habitat receives absolutely no state or federal funds. It's strictly on a donation basis. It's not a handout, it's a hand up. There's quite the vetting process for prospective homeowners. They're required to put in an amount of sweat equity, part of the building. We don't just say you're going to get a house and we build it and hand it to you. If you don't get the required hours in, you don't get the keys. Period. It is a zero interest mortgage, and we stay with you from the day that we break ground until you pay it off, and even after that. And we try to instill in our homeowners that a lot of people help build your house. We got the next one coming.
Yeah, right.
So please come help. And again, it's all volunteer labor. The high school building trades has been amazing. It's been a wonderful partnership. And we have a core group who is always there for every house.
I learned one day, a hot day in July, a job do not volunteer for. That is stuffing insulation. I always had something else to do when that job was available.
Yeah, that's a bad job.
But from the inception, from the beginning, tell us, Cince, how a person applies for a home and the vetting process, because I think that's very interesting. This just isn't picking up the phone, calling Billy Sahs, say I got a house for you, you want to start building it? That doesn't work that way. So tell us about that.
There's a one-page application that you fill out, and we
Single
make
page.
It's just a one-page to
It's not a
start with.
government operation.
No, it's
There
not.
would be several pages.
Yeah.
We look at how long you've lived in the county, family size, and income, because it's income-based. You can never have owned a home to get a Habitat home.
That's interesting.
Well, that probably just follows naturally. I mean, I know the young lady. Incidentally, she's just a miniature, we big bone Norwegian girls, you know, Cince and me. This year's recipient is a little tiny person. She wouldn't be very good at pushing a wheelbarrow full of concrete or something.
Oh, and Sarah's an amazing young lady, our most recent homeowner who received the keys on Sunday. And one of the advantages of helping build your own home is you learn how to, when your siding becomes a little unhooked, how you fix that. You know, what brushes you use for painting. How do I put, you know, the molding that one of the nails came loose on. So you learn a little home maintenance.
Which is a darn good thing to learn, isn't it, Cince?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you have these 2 or 3 applicants, and then somebody has to make a decision. Who gets this house?
Well, after you've completed the one-page application, and if you get through that process because the income is right, you've
Has
lived
to be
here
certain.
in the county long enough, then there's a 6-page application. And we do financial checks, we do background checks, we work with you. I mean, if when we do a credit check, your credit is subpar, we work with you on cleaning that up. And that can be budgeting, it could be, they look at it and say, well, we never got this loan, it isn't ours.
Daily handling of money.
Cleaning up their credit checks. Because if they can't pay their mortgage, we can't build number 25.
That's right. That's right. And you do build annually, don't you?
We try. We've been in existence for 26 years, and this is our 24th house.
Well, you darn near
So
made
we're
it.
almost making one a year.
Yes,
I'd
you
like
sure.
to make a comment, if I may, a personal comment. This didn't get off the ground because it just laid there moldering as an idea. This idea was generated by one of us here in this studio, and his name was Bill Sahs. And I've always felt that's a real contribution to his community, and not only born the idea, but got to kicked it off and got patted it on the bottom and got it to breathing life. And by golly, Billy, it's a great thing you've done for some people in our community.
Well, I enjoy it. Helping people is what I do. I enjoy doing it. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't be here. But
That would be the success it is.
yeah, and you got to be behind it.
Yeah.
And it has worked.
Well, it's a nationwide thing. Everybody knows about poor old President Carter, supposed to have been a doddering old man, and they panned him out West 40 to molt and fade away. Well, he didn't do that. He's been very prominent in Habitat for Humanity, which is a good thing. It's because it's good PR for the program. This is a wonderful program for humanity. Families that receive that.
And President Carter still helps today. He's over 90 years old, and he still helps.
Well,
Bless his heart.
don't put us aside just because we're 90. That doesn't mean much. I mean, there are a lot of 90-year-olds could pick up a hammer.
That's right.
The problem of it is we may not know the difference between the left hand and the right hand.
Well, you have to start at the very beginning. Like you have to have something to put the house on.
Yes, that's correct.
And I was pleased to see that the land for this house was donated from the estate of Bernie Behrens.
That's correct, yes.
And I remember him well.
Yeah.
And he's obviously left this for humanity to use.
That's correct, yes.
That is just
Yeah.
great. And then you got all the people who give of their time. That they talk about a house built with love.
Yeah.
A Habitat house is definitely built with love. Lots and lots of
Yeah.
labor goes into that, and lots of love. And the recipients are lucky to have it.
Sarah, the last one has been really a bright spot. She's supposed to donate. She's a single mother.
Yes.
Got 2 daughters, and they're supposed to donate as a single parent. They 250 hours, and I'm guessing she probably donated 600 hours. And you stop and think about weekends only. That's pretty impressive.
Because she has to work to
There's
support
somebody
those
appreciated
kids.
Yeah.
that something was being
She
done.
really loved doing this and was really excited that she's getting this house. That's
Well, it was
under-
fun on Sunday. She even said, I can't wait till we start the next one because I'm going to be there.
yeah.
And she
See,
will be.
She
Yeah.
will.
and from what I gather from people who know her, that's Sarah.
It is.
She's
It is,
always
yeah.
right there to do the right thing. And how happy it must make you
Yeah.
to make her so happy. That's a gift to you, too.
Well, and if you've never had an opportunity to work on a Habitat house, whether it's bringing snacks or a noon meal or building, painting, whatever, there's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of joy. We have a good time. You know, somebody will do something and say, you've never done that before, have you? Nope. Well, let's talk about how we're really supposed to do this. Because, you know, again, it's all volunteers.
Sure.
You know, it's not the contractors that we've got building the house. It's just regulation people who said, hey, I want to do something for my community and for somebody. I mean, I've learned a lot.
Well, and you came into it having a background knowledge of how to build. Do you ever get anybody that's involved that's more like me, isn't sure which end of the hammer is the one you pound with?
You
We
know,
have several of those.
God love them.
And it's not a
They're
bad
for 'em.
thing because it's a learning process, and that's what we're there for. And, you know, a lot of times the people, I can do this to my own house. I didn't
yes.
know I could do this.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they can.
So it's a happy time for them.
Yeah,
They learn
right,
another part
exactly.
of themselves.
Cynthia Lynn, we're not going to ask you how old you are on the air.
I'm younger than you are, Uncle Bill.
Sure are. But at what age did you start this volunteering in this program? You've been with them a few years.
I believe I've been on the board for 8 years, and we can only
President of the
serve
last
9.
couple of years now. That's a big responsibility, to be president of the Habitat for Humanity.
You bet.
It is. I was president for 3 years, which is all that's allowed,
Yeah.
and then Bill took over. You can be on the board for 9 years consecutively and then have to take a year off. But I probably built with Habitat, I don't know, 5 or 8 years before I even joined the board.
Just hanging out and helping.
Yeah, when they'd have a house, you know.
But you enjoy that. And you're a good fixer-upper.
Well, not as good as some of the guys there, but I do okay.
Bill, really, as a farmer, you got to be a fixer-upper.
Yes, you do.
I think that's
Every
part of
day.
the contract, isn't it?
It's it's an unwritten contract.
Yeah.
Yes.
But strongly enforced, however.
That is very
Quick
true.
aside, the listeners might have an interest in how much rain did we get? How long, specifically, then, how long do you think it'll be before we'll be in the field?
Oh goodness, we had 2.5 inches last night,
Well, that's a lot.
and since Sunday we've had over 3, and they're talking more tonight and tomorrow. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the creek is already out and going crazy. So it's going to be a while before it gets back in its banks, and we see the damage that has been done from the flooding. So, and there's some out there.
Well, wasn't it you who said that so many percent of the corn was in, and at this point it's like 40%, and they got 5% in?
Yeah, this morning on the news they had some figures on what is actually in the ground and what's normally in the ground.
Yeah.
It's going to lay there wet for a
And
little
the
while.
thing is, like driving up here today, there's going to be a lot of replanting.
Oh,
Because all
my.
we have is a pond.
Yes.
Yeah. There are huge ponds on the way up here.
Yes, there are.
It's too bad. Have you peeked out at your ponds?
Yeah. They could probably get deeper, but not much.
You're not going to stock them, though, are you?
No.
So we just awarded a house to a very deserving candidate. On your timetable, well, number one, let's talk about how we acquire the property, the land for these homes, because that's important. Sometimes we have land given to us, a building site given to us, but notwithstanding that, when do you think we'll be starting on a new project?
I would say it would probably be later this year or the first of
See, already this year.
2020. Depends on how things roll with getting the applicants taken care of, and we have some applicants already in the works, and we're working on them.
Do you have standard blueprints that you can show the people, or they can go look at this house, for instance, that
Yeah,
you
we
just
take,
finished?
we have a group of blueprints that Habitat furnishes us, and the size of family has a lot to do with
Well,
it.
yeah.
And if they decide they want this particular blueprint, they can tweak it a little bit and make it a little bit different than what we show them, but not a lot.
Well, this was a family of 3.
That's correct.
And for instance, our family would have been 5 of us. That would make a difference.
We've had 5 and 6 child families before, and we've built.
Speaking of blueprints, if I may interject, obviously I'm sitting here without a blueprint in front of me. We have sponsors,
Oh,
and I forgot our sponsors, and my apologies to them. We have some really important. They kind of make. They buy the 2x4s. So go right ahead, Mr. Ash. And we're right back live in the studios here at WLCN. If you didn't know the frequency to which you're listening, 96.3. Viewpoint is your program each Wednesday morning, 8:15 to 0900 hours. It started a little earlier this morning because we wanted to give Kim Peterson Quinn a little extra time to talk about the high school musical production, Fiddler on the Roof, which is a fun show. And she's got a bunch of good kids out there at the high school putting this show on. And we commend going and supporting those youngsters.
I bet she deals with some of the kids that you people dealt with building
make
trades.
sure that we acknowledged that we opened up a new house, awarded a new house to an applicant yesterday for Habitat for Humanity. A wonderful program has been going on. How long now since Billy Sahs stood in that Alvy's corner and got that idea?
Oh my gosh, 27 years.
Think of that, almost 30 years. Been doing some good in the community down through the years. For those of you who don't know about Habitat for Humanity, pay attention to Judith's daughter, Cince, and Billy Sahs here this morning. They just do a tremendous amount of good here in our community. Something about it which we can be very, very proud of. You're taking people who are in real need and giving them a chance. And I guess that's about the best way to put it. Taking people who are in real need and giving them an excellent chance to move their head a little higher.
And it works quite well. We had the very first family paid off their loan a few years ago, and they're still living in the same place. They got grandkids
Sure,
now,
I suppose.
which is interesting. You know, it just seems like it was just yesterday that we were building that house, but
If that isn't a feel-good situation, I wouldn't know what it is.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, exactly. So go ahead.
And
right
the
ahead.
house is very nice.
Yeah.
That was blessed on this Sunday.
Yeah.
And one of the people who's been with you since the onset, I think, isn't it, is Tony Reifsteck.
Well, Tony, actually, her and Wally were in Decatur for a while, and she dealt with Habitat in Decatur while she was there. And when Tony retired, or Wally retired, and they moved back to Lincoln because their family was here.
Sure.
And she got involved with our board when she came back, and she's probably been 10 years maybe, I'm guessing. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty close. So Tony's a huge asset. I mean,
she's been involved in our community a long time. I served on the community school board, elementary school board with Tony for a long time. That's a day or two ago.
And Leonard Kruzmark.
And Leonard Kruzmark.
He's been a steady.
Oh gosh, Leonard's been with us from day one, on and off. I mean, he serves on the board, and then he still helps with the house of it. He's now has been having some health issues, and bless his heart, he had his daughter and her husband bring him from the hospital to give the Bible to the new homeowner, which I thought was really interesting.
Now, what does that say about the kind of people you're dealing with?
Dedication.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and in Leonard's case, he buys the Bible himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe he's given it at every home.
Every home. every home we've had. Yeah.
Now that's not something that's done across the board, statewide for Habitat, is it?
I think that's a unique thing.
It's a lot of them do. I don't know if all do, but it's been in our process from day one. Yeah.
And bless Leonard's heart. And
Yeah.
there he was, direct from the hospital to
Yeah.
you.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that's dedication.
Yes, it is.
I would
That's
say.
for sure. He loves the program.
Oh, he must.
Yes,
And
yeah.
his days of being a painter and a nailer are kind
Yeah.
of in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bless his heart.
Yeah.
And you said that the building trades group at the high school has expanded a little bit because of their affiliation with Habitat. And it's their way to see something come from the bottom to the top.
That's correct. Well, I think what happened, the high school quit buying land to build homes on
Yes.
because it got too expensive.
Yeah.
So this is a process where it doesn't cost them anything, but they get the labor, which helps. And
Not a better way to teach hands-on skills. For
and
goodness
and a
sakes.
lot of these kids eventually someday could be carpenters, and
Sure.
in the past they have become carpenters that have gone to the building trades program.
And speaking of carpenters, you have your co-foreman that work together. One of them I used to work with, and that's Tom. And
Yeah.
you got pretty good co-foreman going for you there.
Yeah. Tom Frost is a very good man, a hard worker too.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yes.
And you pay him union wage, right?
Yeah, right.
Just like you get, right?
Yeah.
Let's go
Twice
back to
what
the
we get.
acquisition of the site, the property on which you're going to build. Has there ever been just a remodeling job, or is it all building?
We actually, second house we ever did was a rehab. That,
Well, there are houses out there that are susceptible to that, or
Yeah.
suitable for
Right.
that, I should say. I guess susceptible is hardly the right word to use there. Let's talk about the acquisition of the property. You've had property given to you on several occasions.
Yes, we have. We've had actually all but about 3 or 4 pieces of property have been donated to us.
Very nice.
Thank you, God.
Yes.
Yes.
And a couple of them were, if you buy one, I'll give you one. Those kind of things have happened. So, and over the years, we've been very fortunate that we've had that kind of luck getting places to build. We still own 4 or 5 properties that are bare lots that we can build on now, if we so choose.
Are they all within the city limits of Lincoln, or do
No,
you county?
one is in the county, one is in Atlanta, and I think, is there still one in Pulaski? I don't remember.
I think there is.
And we got,
That's where I learned not to put in insulation in July.
Yes.
The house in Atlanta. The fact that people can give proper, some folks are in a position that they can do that with little or no hurt to their finances at all, and in some cases a help to their finances as far as taxes are concerned.
that's correct, yes.
And I think folks should always keep that in mind, that the Habitat is always out there, and it can always use a little help.
You bet.
And the attorneys out there might be well advised to keep that in the back of their minds, to Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so come in there, whether we got a nice estate, and can benefit Habitat and benefit their clients by helping them give that to Habitat for Humanity. So it's just a wonderful program for this community to have. And there's another thing about it, Judith K., and that is there's a commonality of it, of purpose. Folks banded together with this common interest. That's a good program. That's a good feeling.
How many people are on your board? You've got a pretty good...
We're at a low spot now. We have 8 on our board now. We can have up to 20, I believe.
Yeah, I think
Is
that's...
that based on the population of your
Not
county?
necessarily. It's the bylaws, the
I
way the
see.
bylaws are written.
And you have some latitude in your bylaws?
Yes, we do.
Uh-huh. So ours might not be what Decatur's is, because obviously
That's correct,
our
yes.
situations would
Well,
be
and what you're looking at, when you're looking at a big community like Springfield, Champaign, Bloomington, typically, there's paid staff.
Oh,
We are all
do
volunteers.
you get rich, you two?
No.
Not so much?
Say
Everybody
that again,
that's
honey.
on the board is a volunteer. We
Yeah.
have one part-time employee, and he does the restore.
Oh, that's right. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Source
And
warehouse.
how you can go there for something and how you can go there to bring something.
Well, for
Yeah, we
instance,
have-
we had a bunch of furniture to do. We had to make decisions. We just gave it to Habitat,
Yeah.
That's
And it worked
correct,
out very
Bill.
well.
Yes, yeah. And,
including some appliances.
Yep.
That worked out well.
and that having, good quality used furniture, I guess is the best way to say it. And it helps keep some money coming in and
Right.
keep the inventory rolling. And we had here last month, Alexander's went out of business.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they donated a lot of
Wonderful.
boards and building things that we ended up with. They just donated it to us because they could
Bless
write it
their
off.
hearts.
Because they could write it off.
Sure.
So
As a donation,
As a donation, yeah.
which a person could do too, couldn't they?
People can do that too, yes. And we have had several people. Bill's a good example, and Mr. Examus donated a lot of equipment to us from his house when he did remodeling.
Uh-huh.
And we enjoy getting those nice items
Yes.
that can be sold.
And that's open to the public. If
That
you
is correct.
if you need a hassock, you could go out there and check it out, couldn't
Yeah.
you?
Well, look at it this way. You're moving. You got some things that you can't use. You're going to have a yard sale that you're going to give about $1.50 for. Or you're going to just give your stuff to humanity, Habitat for Humanity, where somebody can get some real benefit and get more of the full value of the product for it. Now,
Well,
that's a
and-
no-brainer decision.
Absolutely, and the inventory changes regularly. I mean, we've got doors and windows and molding and ceiling fan and furniture and appliances.
That's another
What are
thing.
the
People don't
hours?
realize that they might stop by out there and see what's available, and they might get a big surprise as to what they could buy for a little or nothing.
Absolutely, that, and again, come often, because again, it changes.
Oh,
It's,
sure, every day.
yeah.
Now, what are the hours out there?
Wednesday through Saturday.
Uh-huh.
Wednesday through Friday are 9 to 4, and Saturdays from 9 to 2.
Okay,
So
9
we're
to 4.
closed on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Yes. And you've got any number of building supplies
Oh gosh,
as
yes.
well as furnishings for a home.
Paint,
Yes.
stain.
Yeah.
Wish I'd known that. I should have gone out there and gotten my stain, shouldn't
Yeah,
I?
I coulda.
I was bad.
You still can.
I will. I shall.
Since for you're a high school kid helping on Habitat for Humanity, it never occurred to you that as the years went by, you would suddenly become a very, very valuable asset to the Habitat people on a just a daily basis, really.
It's amazing. Just the people I have been able to meet, not only the homeowners but all the volunteers, the board members. It's just amazing, and there's so much negativity when you either listen or watch the news. There are good things going on out there. There's a lot of good things.
You know, Mrs. Busby, you and I are allowed to be called into the boardroom for one of the talk with management here at WLCN. Once again, we've gone through almost an hour now and have failed to give our listeners the advantage of knowing that 648-5510 is a number to use if you like a question or just like to make a comment. We've not invited any comments if anybody has any comments. 648-5510. You got about 3 or 4 minutes yet to go, and we're going to get called on the carpet if we don't watch our action out here.
Maybe he'll dock our pay.
About like Cince and I, huh?
No, we opted to put you on our charity list.
Okay, that'll work.
Before we close out, I don't want to be facetious about this whole concept.
WLCN, may I help you?
I think hopefully we just got a call. We'll see in a minute. If we did.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe I won't.
Okay. How do you think?
Won't be able to get these untangled. It's a good thing that wasn't the call that needed these headsets, because we're entangled. And the call was a comment.
It was Tony.
Oh.
Okay.
Did
Well,
she
good
have
morning.
a reminder for us?
Just a list of volunteers who
Well,
help
Make a pitch for that.
yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yes. Volunteers and any community group like that, they can always use volunteers, no matter
Yes.
what the cause is.
And you don't have to be a professional builder. You could be a professional chocolate chip cookie maker.
There's so many
Exactly.
opportunities, because we have committees, and you don't have to be on the board to be on a committee. When we're building, like I say, you can bring snacks, you can bring meals, you can paint, you can build. If you're interested in being on the board, there's just, it's what you're willing to give and what you're willing to do.
I think I'll go with the baking. My father, your grandfather, said I was a 3-quart painter. A quart to spill, a quart to wear, and a quart for the job.
It's true.
I've known professional painters that way.
That's why they wear white.
A good plan.
We appreciate very much Cince, Bowns, and Billy Sahs being with us today. You know, it isn't like these people don't have other things to do. They do have things to do every day. Cince has got a very responsible job with the Department of Children and Family Services. And I'm going to take my hat off to her, Fun God and everybody here. Those folks who work in that department, they're a special blend of folks. So thank you for that. Billy is... he just farmed at the whim of God. If God says,
Yeah.
if God says
Right
it's
now,
going to
God
go
says-
today, we
God
do.
says it's going to rain next week.
So thank you very, very much for being with us today. Habitat for Humanity, a very, very important thing. We would close asking you to remember that Community High School is going to put on Fiddler on the Roof, and that'll be an enjoyable time. Kim Quinn does a wonderful job out there with our kids. Some folks have special talents, and she's one of those who has that. So thank you all for being with us this morning, and I would just close with this comment to anybody out there. Both of you listeners, pay attention now. Be the reason somebody smiles today. Thank you very much.